Hello, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to what is always a very exciting time of year with all the big companies doing their releases, and Airfix is one of my favourites. Big stir, certainly in the UK. Every time Airfix release their video, they put it sort of live on Facebook, if you know what I mean. So it's pre-recorded, obviously. And Dale, the brand manager, he presents it and goes through all the new releases for the year. Well, I say all, more of that at the end of the video. But they not only do they announce the new tools, all the new reboxings and all the classic, the vintage classics that are coming out this year as well. So all of that stuff. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go through all of that. What I'm going to go through is obviously the new tool stuff, aeroplanes. I'm not going to talk about the Stalwart, that funky looking Thunderbirds type 6-wheeled vehicle that, to be honest, I'd never even heard of. But Matt is a very good friend of mine. He's like the chief designer guy. And I was chatting to him, just texting while the video was up live. And he said that that's been one of the most popular ones that have been asked for by all the modelers out there, even though I'd never heard of it. But I'm not a ground vehicle guy. So I'm not going to talk about things like that. All the space rockets, the Artemis space rocket, things like that. I'm not going to talk about that either, outside the scope of the channel, really, if I'm honest. This is an aviation aeroplanes channel, so concentrating on that. I'm not going to go through all the classics and all the re-releases and all that kind of stuff either, otherwise this video is going to be hours and hours and hours long. I want to keep it short, sharp, give you my reaction to mainly the new tools and a few of the modified tools, and then at the end we'll have a bit of a wash up and then talk about what might else be coming this year. No insider information, even though I'm mates with Matt and I know got to know Dale fairly well over the last few years. They never tell me anyway, and I wouldn't embarrass them by asking. So yeah, there's not going to be any plot spoilers, but there's going to be some what ifs, if you like. Right, enough of the waffle and the blah. Let's get into it, and I'm going to start off with some of the modified toolings, different versions, that kind of thing, that have been announced. The first one is the Shinook. Now, I've got the original Shinook release. I've done a sprue tour on the channel. It looks a beautiful kit. But a lot of the Gulf War versions had, and later versions, Mark 1 Late is how it's labelled, had the sort of the most sort of visual striking difference, I guess, apart from all the little aerials, is the big aerials down the side, the HF aerial. It's the sort of 2 rows of the pylons. And that really does open up a load more different options and is sure to be really popular. One of the boxings is the 7 Squadron. They're the Special Forces Support Squadron. They're not a Special Forces Squadron, they're Special Forces Support. They had their old sort of black spaghetti brush painted over the top to tone down the desert for night ops. That looks really cool, and if you could pull that off in modelling form and make it look authentic, that's going to look absolutely stunning. To get those sort of brush strokes, scale brush strokes, is going to be really difficult. But I predict there's going to be a decal sheet for that coming out with the squiggles on, I reckon. Don't know who, I've just got an inkling in the water. Anyway, so that's the Shinook, very welcome. And that really opens it up to a whole load of weathering. Completely new, my phone's just pinged, completely new fuselage halves, apparently. So there's obviously, I don't know my Chinooks, never flew it, but lots of 2 new fuselages apparently, so there must be significant differences in that. There we are, that's the Chinook. Next one, the B-24. It was obvious that the B-24D was going to come at some stage. I kind of thought that they do the J first because that's got a turret on the front. And so is I think it's the H, is it? The previous version. Again, that's up on the channel as well. And but they've come out with the D first, so I guess the J is going to come out, if not next year, certainly the year after, I would predict. Some really nice box art markings. Obviously, they've done Lady Be Good, and no surprise there. Very, very famous aeroplane, and I'm sure some of the original Ploesti aircraft are depicted, I don't know if I'm honest, but there's going to be a plethora of aftermarket decals out there for everyone to choose from, and another very welcome release. Right, next, the last one then I'm going to talk about of the kind of updated different versions type thing is the Ganet, and they're doing the Quad 4. To be honest, this is the one I've kind of been waiting for because I really like the Ganet in that really dark blue scheme. I think it looks beautiful. Really limited weathering opportunities because it's such a dark overall colour and they didn't fade that much. But I've got a plan that I really quite fancy that. I've been kind of hanging on for the COD and to do a derelict one, or certainly one that is in the Fleet Aero Museum, which is kind of really faded and all that kind of stuff. But I might just do a what if and just go completely crazy. But that's the one that I would do. Now, I've got so many projects next year that I really want to do that, you know, I do want to do some more Airfix, but it's kind of choosing what am I going to do when, that kind of thing. But if I'm going to do any Ganet, it's going to be the COD because I really like it in that dark blue scheme. A lot of many minis have gone, oh, why didn't they do an AEW in the first place? Well, it's kind of limited by markings and kind of export and that kind of thing. And luckily, excuse me, if you want one, Sword have released one. It's supposed to be very nice. It's not as refined as the Ganet. Those people I know that have built the Airfix Ganet say it's one of their best kits ever. And even though I've banged on this channel more than once about why do people fold up aeroplanes, because it spoils the lines. Well, the lines are so bloody ugly on the Ganet anyway. I think a wing fold, because of the Z fold and it's so unique, I think actually I'd be tempted to do it all folded up. You know, who knew? I must be on something if I'm going to say things like that. But anyway, COD 4, absolutely brilliant. And a bit early, I'm thinking. I would have thought, maybe in a year or two when all the kerfuffle over the original S4, isn't it, version, all that's gone away, starting to get a little bit difficult to get hold of, and then they'd release that. But no, boom, out it's come already. So really welcome on that one. What I will say, no, I'll save that to the end. Actually, I'll save that to the end. Blah. Right, okay. The bit everybody's been waiting for is the new tools, and I'm going to start off with the 1/72nd scale Wessex. I think that is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant choice, the Wessex. Airfix love their helicopters. Clearly they sell, otherwise they wouldn't do them. And I can well imagine a whole raft of different versions coming on down the line. It looks beautifully detailed already. Options for folding the tail and folding the rotors, or having everything out and spread. Obviously, that's the one I would do. And a plethora of different schemes. Now, they've gone kind of relatively conservative, I guess. This is the HC2. Again, no idea over my Wessex variants. Certainly Crab Wessex variants. And like I say, obviously, there's going to be a yellow version coming down the line at some point. There'll be the Royal Navy versions at some point. Of course, they'll do Humphrey. Obviously. Obvious choice. Right, don't take this wrong way. I'm not... that might sound like a Debbie Downer. Ugh, obvious, Humphrey. But it is obvious. And it's a great scheme. And it's a very famous aircraft. And they should do it. Absolutely, they should do it. If they do a Mustang and they do Big Beautiful Doll, I'm going to say, oi, stop it, pack it in, because that's a bit of a cliche. But I think, famous schemes like that, Lady Be Good, if they can, get that tie-in, then I think that broadens the appeal to more people, makes it a bigger seller, and that can only be a good thing. So, watch this space. Guaranteed a lot more variants of the Wessex coming along down the line. I reckon next year, B24J, different version of the Wessex, Crab 1/48 scale version of the Sea King in 48th, and those sorts of things are going to be the new versions next year. I think they tend to be sort of pumping them out, don't they, at the moment, rather than, as I said, you know, hanging about waiting to stocks are low, the hubbub dies down, it's getting difficult to find, and then boom, then you get it. We're getting it all early, which can only be a good thing. So that's the Wessex. I quite fancy that actually, and I quite fancy doing that as a derelict one. But I would wait for the Edward set. Right, Spitfires. I think this has arguably caused the biggest area of moanage on the Tinterweb about Airfix is, oh no, the bloody Spitfire, it's a Mark 9. Right, bottom line, choice is good. Is it going to be as good as the Edward one? No. Is it going to be easier to build? Yes. Is it going to be cheaper? Don't know. Arguably about the same. A weekend, it might even be more expensive than the weekend kit, which is what it's analogous to, because clearly with Airfix you're not going to get photo etch, canopy masks, that kind of thing. It looks like the airframe is riveted, and if it is, I really hope it's really refined. I reckon if it's similar to the Ganet, maybe the Ganet suits a heavier riveting pattern, as does the Sea King. It's a more of an agricultural type aeroplane. Clearly the Spitfire is a beautiful thoroughbred, and I'm hoping if the airframe is riveted, and it does look like it, that it is refined. It looks like it on the CAD renderings, but obviously the proof's in the pudding until you get the actual model in your hands and see what it looks like. Who knows? But Spitfire Mark 9 in 148 scale is going to sell by the truckload. Absolutely. So all those moaners out there, my message to those guys is no one's forcing you to buy it. If you'd rather the Edward one, buy the Edward one. But, you know, Airfix and Spitfire go together like, I don't know, jam and cream on a scone, I guess. Not going to argue which way around it is. That's a different video. But I think you get my point. And at the end of the day, Airfix is a business, in the business to make money. And they are going to make money with a 148 scale Spitfire Mark 9. You know, and if you'd rather buy the Edward one, then go and do that, frankly. Just looking at some of the renderings, looks like the exhaust might be solid. Looks like the trailing edge, it's not thick, but it's not razor sharp. And these are not criticisms. This is CAD drawings, first of all. Who knows what the kit is going to be like. The cockpit looks Airfix. Again, I'm not being derogatory, but, Airfix are they competing with Edward? Well, I guess, no, they're taking a different kind of design direction, aren't they? And bottom line is it's going to go extremely well for them, and more power to them, and the number of different schemes you can do. They picked some great schemes in that. And, hooray for that, because choice is always good. There we are. Right, on the Spitfire theme, the TR9, they've announced a two-seater Spitfire. The first time a two-seater Spitfire is being produced in the mainstream, certainly in 148 scale. And judging from what Dale has been saying, it is outselling the single-seat Mark 9 for pre-orders. And they're really surprised about that. I think that's a great choice. They've got the basic Mark 9 tooling, some new cockpit parts, new fuselage parts, obviously clear parts, and you've got a cheaper way of doing the molding because you're spreading the sort of design and R&D costs, aren't you? And I think, fair play. That is absolutely brilliant. Well done them. I've seen some comments already, some comments on my Facebook page, saying why are they doing that, blah 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 blah. But again, if it's outselling the single seater, then clearly they've backed a winner. Now I know the guys at Airfix were really extremely pleasantly surprised about how well the Ferret did. They never in a million years would they have guessed how much that sold and how well that went down. And I reckon the TR9 is is going to do the same to those guys from what initially I've been hearing. So I think that's great. Some lovely schemes. One from the Battle of Britain film, one from the Irish Air Corps. Quite a few people have been flying in one. I want to go and fly the Spitfire. Clearly I want to sit in the front, but clearly that's not going to happen. Right, two-seater Spitfire, absolute winner from Airfix. Right, and the last one I'm going to talk about is the Jaguar in 48 scale. The Jaguar has been mentioned for quite a few years now, especially when the Buccaneer came out in 48 scale. People were going, well, if they're doing the Buccaneer, they're bound to do the Jag because it's in the same part of the Venn diagram, and I totally agree. And it was just a matter of time. It really is. The really exciting thing about the Jag is it's out in, I think they said, by the end of March, which means I might be able to get my hands on a review copy and bring it back with me because I'm home for Ramadan, which is end of March, first week of April. I need to fire off an email to Dale about that. And if I can bring that back with me, I certainly will, 100%. And yeah, what a fantastic choice. Like I say, absolute no-brainer. Dale was talking about it, well, Dale and Matt were talking about it's been over a year in development. So I think that's actually quite quick, around about a year. And like I say, absolute no-brainer. The obvious other question is, will a two-seater be coming out? I think it will be. Will a French one come out? Oh, I don't know. I'd like to see a future boxing of international ones. India had them, didn't they? Is it Nigeria had them? And I think, did Peru? Can't remember. Oman definitely had them. So certainly in international boxing, we can expect to see, or at least options going on later on down the line. Some really nice schemes in this one. Some of the later schemes, some of the Gulf War schemes with the Overwing 9 Lemurs on. Now I remember going fighting against Jags. They had a unique way of trying to defend against DCA, we called it, defensive counter air fighters. Was those guys would just bomb burst, knowing that some guys were going to be intercepted and taken out, but hopefully most guys would get through to the target. So they would just scatter, and then you're trying to sweep them all up. So that was always great fun. But then they got the helmet-mounted sight, and they were always claiming 40-degree off-bore sight headshot kills, and you're like, shut up, idiots. But, you know, just rivalry and banter and all that kind of stuff. But great fun flying against them, and a cool looking aeroplane, and one that modelers have been screaming out for ages. Some great weathering potential with the Gulf War ones. I'd be tempted to do a Gulf War one. I'm quite tempted to do a green and grey one from about my era either, and also the all over grey. I'm assuming medium sea grey at the end. Don't know, but what a fabulous choice. Overdue for sure, but it's here, and it's here very soon. End of March. Really exciting. If the boat arrives in time. I know they kind of suffer with that a little bit, you know, like the Lysander, which has been delayed again slightly, but is out interfrastically. Yeah, Jag 48th. Finally, it's here. Two-seater. Yeah, I reckon. It'll have a separate nose on it. We haven't seen any of the like the breakdown of the sprues yet. They're going to take it to IPMS Bolton show, which is very soon. And they'll have it there. No doubt we'll see the breakdown of the sprue shots, some built-up test builds, and I reckon separate nose for the two-seater. And a lot of people like the two-seat version. I think it looks a bit funny looking myself. Same for the Harrier. But there we are, two-seater for sure. French maybe, or they might leave that to the aftermarket guys. Who knows? Loads of possibilities. It's going to run and run, a bit like the Buccaneer and all the different boxings, you know, you could do with that, with the Navy, the RAF. Are we going to see the early version of that, you know, with the smaller engines, what they Gnome or something? I don't know, can't remember. But you know, we shall see. Right, there we are. Airfix 2025 then. I think comparing that to last year, I get vibes that people are more satisfied this year than they were last year. That's just me. It's just a kind of feeling I get from the forums and Facebook and chatting to friends and things like that. I reckon they've nailed it this year, 100%. Are they going to do some surprise announcements through the year? Yes, is the answer. What are they going to be? Who knows? I reckon 2. I don't think they probably do more than that. Maybe it's only 1 this year. We shall have to wait and see. When is it going to be? Who knows again? Dale did say that the advantage of doing these secret releases is if it's delayed, like the I was going to say like the Lysander, but that was a surprise announcement, wasn't it? But they tried to get that out for in time for Telford. Unfortunately, beyond their control reasons, it never happened. But if it's a secret release, then and it the boat is delayed for whatever reason, then less of a panic on. But yeah, definitely. So what things could they be? Who knows? Absolutely, who knows? Could be anything. I doubt we'll see a 148 scale Cold War jet. A lot of people have been mentioning Tornado, that is right up their boulevard. Tornado is a bigger aeroplane, more complicated model than a Buccaneer or a Jag. Could it be a Harrier? A new to early Harrier? Maybe. But I think if they're going to do a 148 scale Jag, then I would say my guess would be 48 scale Second World War and 72nd scale something. Who knows what that might be? Could be anything. And notable absences from the Airfix range. I've done a separate video on this, but we might as well go through it again. 72nd scale Halifax, 72nd scale Hampden, JP5 in 72nd scale, JP3 and 5 in 48 scale. I think they'd fit right in alongside, chipmunks and gnats and things like that. Long-nosed Blenheim. I mean, for goodness sake. I mean, come on, fellas. The long-nosed Blenheim is, I reckon, probably the most popular version of that. And still, where is it? And I'd love to see them to do a 48 scale battle and a Barracuda, just to say, to Trumpeter and Hobby Boss for porking those ones up. Who knows? So, and I think they're just obvious omissions. But then, I never expected a Lysander. I never expected the ME410. Never expected the Sea King. So who knows what they're going to come out with. It could be absolutely anything, really. But there we are. Food for thought. Food for thought. Right. Airfix 2025. That's almost 25 minutes. I'm going to go and have a shower and get to bed because I'm absolutely knackered. I've got a check ride tomorrow. Sort out my helmet hair as well. Still haven't sorted that out from getting back from work. But there we are. My reaction to Airfix 2025. All round, absolutely brilliant. I'd agree with the mood. I think it's better than last year. And last year was brilliant. So this is even more brilliant. Brillianter. And exciting to see what's going to come later on in the year. So thanks very much, Airfix, to Dale and the team for bringing us the excitement, which is building. Off the top of my head, didn't really work, but you know what I mean. And let's see what comes out later in the year. So and all from all the other manufacturers as well that we've not heard of yet. So thanks very much for watching. I'll see you around. Cheers. Bye bye.